Can everybody state their name and age? Hi, my name's Anna Turpin, and I am 22 years old.
My name is Carson Mulkey and I am 27.
I'm Grace Martin and I'm 22.
I'm RJ Turpin and I'm 25.
How did art become a spiritual discipline instead of just a hobby?
Oh yeah, so absolutely. So I feel like from like before I fully like started obeying God and like just delving like fully into him, I feel like all my life like I always saw art as literally just that. It was a hobby. It was just something that I liked to do and I did it for myself. Any art project or thing I did, it was for me. Like literally it was like whatever I wanted to do, or I would find something that I wanted to recreate or create, and I literally just did it for me. It wasn't really a second thought about, unless it was like a gift for somebody. Um, Maybe like I was doing it for somebody else, but otherwise, I don't know. I never really put the intention of God into it. I guess it was always literally, yeah, just a hobby and doing it for myself. But since this past year, all of my art has been fully dedicated to God. Like I don't know, like I feel like for me it's almost like a giving back and like a giving thanks to him for what he's done and like the transformation he's done in my life. Like I don't know, there just wasn't a second thought when I started picking up the paintbrushing, and especially like all my paintings now, you'll see in God in all of them. Like all of them are just something biblical or literally pictures of him or anything like related to that. Like I don't know, and like now it's like not a second thought to be like, yeah, like now instead of it being a hobby and something I just kind of do, it's no, I'm doing it for him because he gave it to me. Like it's almost like my pleasure to be, like it's a pleasure to be able to create in such a way. It's an honor, so it's like I just want to give it back to him and honor him in that. So yeah, that's kind of my transformation from art. Like it's literally just like the question said, it was a hobby and now it's a dedication to him. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Can you share also what it kind of looked like before, of like how our
Oh,
walls used to be covered and what it looks like now?
yeah, so I also kind of did that as like I don't know why I really did that. I think I just did it because I was bored. But yeah, our halls used to be covered in my old artwork, or not when I say old, but just like yeah, stuff that was more secular or things that I wanted to do. But since again, I think I wanted it to reflect what was happening on the inside to me and like inside our house, even that. So then I took down all the paintings from my past, like ones that I've done, and I've left only the ones that are of God and show Him and yeah, all the stuff I created for him now is the only thing that's left on our walls because I feel like that's what truly should be up and like showcased and what people need to see instead of all the distractions and the maybe the other artwork did make people think in a certain way, but it wasn't in a way that was like godly. So yeah, so I left all the stuff that is just for him instead of for me.
Beautiful.
And I wanted to say too, I feel like a lot of something I remembered earlier I was gonna say too was that a lot of my older stuff was like a lot of I feel like things too that were either like emotionally like driven too and like a lot of stuff was just yeah based on like my emotions, and so a lot of the times like when I was depressed, that was my outlet too, even not like just musically to like express myself and my feelings. I would do that in art. So I feel like a lot of my old stuff too was um yeah, very dark, and some of it could be like scary even, a lot of skeletons and skulls and like a lot of death, I feel like. Whereas now I've noticed, I feel like I mean maybe some of them were bright, but a majority of the stuff that I did, especially in private in my drawing sketchbooks and stuff, a lot of it was really dark and scary. And I even look back on it now and I was like, wow, like the place that I was in back then is so different from where I am now. Like I could never it's not that I can't relate to it, but it's almost like it's like a different person. Like I'm like sometimes I look at it and I was like, I did that because it's just like I'm in such a different mindset now of like of just freedom um and yeah, just not in a place of where like death is constantly like knocking at my door and like in my mind all the time because that's where I really was I feel like I was on the bridge of death almost constantly. Like in a sense, like that's where my my mindset constantly was. So now it's a lot of just I feel like it's a lot more colorful and a lot more brighter and yeah, just reflects God instead of the darkness and the evil. So I wanted to mention that too. So that's something a big change I've noticed. It's not all black and white. It's a lot more color drawn into it now.
Yeah, it kind of makes me think about the music I used to listen to.
Mm,
Like when I was very heavily doing drugs and alcohol and going to parties, like the music I would listen to that they like play at parties, like are all about doing drugs and drinking alcohol and partying like crazy. And I think it's something that you can relate to, like when you're living in that. So that's almost why you are drawn to.
because you don't want to feel alone. So like
Right.
in
Right.
surrounding yourself with that, you feel
Yeah.
quote unquote less alone.
Right. It's like that is your identity.
Yeah.
Like what you're living in and how
Mhm.
you not like show yourself, but like what you can relate to.
Mhm.
So, and then other people who are doing the same things will listen to the same music but when you are made new in Christ and he gives you a new identity, it's like looking back and listening to that, it's like, whoa, like why was I listening to that? Like why was I painting these
Yeah.
things? Like why was I even drawing these things? Like you don't even realize or like recognize like that version of yourself.
That's so like I almost forgot about the music aspect for myself because like I don't know why it seems so distant and far away, but it's like crazy because it's like the beginning of this year. I was like still listening to like crazy like heavy metal music and like I know a lot of people think that like scene of like screamo and like my music was like strictly like screaming and I like saw like there was nothing that was just like yeah that's what I listen to, that's what I like, go to concerts like that and crowd surf and do all those things and it's like the difference from then to now is just like I don't even want like I can't listen to almost like I tried the other day. There's like some people trying to get into like the Christian heavy metal scene, and I was just like it reminded me too much of all that, and I was just like I can't do it. Like I just want to worship God, and I just want like the praise to be all in Him, and like I didn't want to be attached to that because like it still felt like a heaviness or like
Right.
drawback to that.
Yeah, it's almost like when you were saying, like, God gave me the gifts and the desires, so why not give it back to Him?
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like that is not of God.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't relate at all to, like, any of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, if I'm alive, why would I go back to something that's so dead?
It's like the song recently, "Never Going Back."
Yeah.
Oh, it just like breaks my heart. Not breaks my heart, but it like breaks it open again, and then it like
Yes.
fills it more with him because I'm like, I never want to go back to that. Why would I want to go back to that like death and the
Right.
feeling of drowning constantly? Like I'm so much more alive now, and people even say they're like, you just seem more lively, and I'm like, thank you.
Right.
Like, yeah, like it's noticeably different.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's not just an inward thing, like yeah.
Right, like He can change us inwardly, like our desires and changes our heart, and that's what reflects us, and like He shows through us, like through the change that He makes in our heart.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of reel us back in a little bit to this project. Of just kind of stating some of the points of one, just like defining what creative expression is, because it can look so different to literally every single person of what that means. And so specifically, I'm kind of looking at from the biblical perspective, as I think we all are, of, what does that mean in the world versus when we look to Christ, and how did Christ do that as a creator? And so he kind of, obviously he sets the ultimate example. And so for him, creatively expressing, he does that through servant leadership and through serving people. And he literally, his ultimate like look of that is he literally sent his son to come and serve this world and to die on the cross for us. And so like how do we then in return express that back to him and give it back to him. And so I think obviously for each of us that looks different, but it can be so much, like people can kind of categorize it into, creative being just like the arts. I feel like that's kind of what the world categorizes it into, but like that can look literally serving people. Like that is like creating a space, hospitality, welcoming people into a room. Like that is creative expression of giving it back to the Lord. And there's just so many ways that it can be seen in people. Um, and so through that, how do you guys see creative expression, like through doing that, since you've seen what that looked like to you before in the worldly sense of what it looked like to you, and now you see the difference between following Christ. Now, how do you feel like creatively expressing through your different medium? How do you see that like reigniting your faith, or how do you see that growing you or refining you? And like, how does that kind of keep you on your toes with your walk with Christ?
Through our own personal
Yeah.
way of creative expression.
Yeah. And how do you think that could also help others?
I mean, personally, like mine would be through music and through like using my voice. And I think a lot of people are drawn to music. And like Forrest Frank is a good example, because when I like was first really starting to change up my music and be like, okay, I know this worldly music is not good to listen to and not good for my spirit. Like, what can I listen to? Like, I found Forrest Frank and I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is so good as far as like bringing people in to really enjoying like worship without it almost sounding like churchy, because I definitely had a lot of church hurt. So it was like, oh, I don't know, but um I think like through music and using your voice and using your talents, people can recognize like, oh, that sounds good, or like, oh, like you can tell like the passion and desire that they are putting into like their craft of like what they do. It's like, wow, they're really into that. Like, let me see like what it's even about, and then you really start listening to it.
Oh, so I guess one question actually would be, do you guys see spiritual complacency among young adults right now? Like, what does that look like realistically? Is this does this have to do with everybody? Is this just a select few people? Do you see it more among maybe younger, older people who maybe are into certain niches, things like that? Are you able to identify this in any areas of your life?
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I first got saved, they were always talking about when you first get saved, you are the like most, I don't know, encouraged, abled, I don't know what word it is to use, but like to go and share the gospel, because as you get older and you kind of are just like steady in your faith, like you're not as like willing or wanting or have that drive to like go out and share the gospel, because I think you just become like spiritually complacent. Um, and then it also makes me think of how like the world is so against Jesus and following the Lord. Obviously, like he opposes everything the world does. So I think people who are saved can also sort of be drawn back into the world by like the people around them that aren't following the Lord. Um, and I think it's very easy, especially in like college students or like young adults, because that's where you are almost like the most susceptible to just trying to fit in and um, like wanting to make friends and find community. So I think that's where it can be a very easy trap for the enemy to take hold of your mind and almost draw you back into the world, like away from the Lord.
I was gonna say, I feel like I was just thinking about it. I don't see like spiritual complacency like as a whole, like whereas like somebody like maybe at least my personal experience, like everything about them is like complacent, but I see certain areas in their life where they're complacent, whether it's like um just even, yeah, opening up their Bible to read if it's not a daily thing, or even just reaching out to prayer, like in any moment or situation. Maybe they only do it when they're desperate. Um, or what was the other thing I was just thinking? Or even just like some of them get like complacent even going to church. They'll like go maybe for a little bit and then stop, take a little break. Um, or even, oh, the other big thing that I see is like just praying in public. And I know I'm a victim of that too. But I've always been scared to be like talking in public. So, but I know I need to be encouraged to surround myself with people who do encourage that, and with leaders who do push that on me so that I can grow in that area. But I feel like that's definitely a big one, is like people don't want to put themselves out there necessarily to like pray over somebody, and they'll let somebody else who's maybe older like take care of that, or who's stronger in their faith, quote unquote. Even just, actually, even just like I know you said new believers are like more urged to like go out and like share with them, but I always actually was just told by um a leader that when you first come to faith, you shouldn't like share or you shouldn't be bringing people to Christ. And that even shocked me, because I was like, she was kind of like, "Oh, you're still a baby. You're still a like baby in your faith," kind of thing, and like discouraged her in that area. And I was like shocked, because I was like, "Well, does that mean I can't do that?" So it's like almost like leave that to like somebody who's more mature in there. So that was like, um, I feel like then that would lead other people, because other people hear that, so that's gonna make other people who are not as strong in their faith like very complacent and be like, "Oh, well, I need to, grow in my faith, and so I'll just stay where I'm at and not lead people to faith just because I'm new." So I feel like that was a big one recently that I've heard too. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely felt that way too. Like whenever I had first got saved, it was like, oh, I don't have enough Bible knowledge to like be able to go and share. But it's almost like even sharing your testimony can help with that. um because like things you've gone through, you can reach other people who have gone through the same things, and even without having Bible knowledge, like you can bring people to the Lord through that. But you had also reminded me, like, spiritual complacency is almost a form of like comfortability.
Yeah.
Like we just want to be comfortable, and like maybe talking about Jesus to other people makes them uncomfortable, so then we don't do it. So like we're looking out for our comfortability and other people's comfortability, because we just don't want to step on anyone's toes or like be in the wrong about anything. But it's like, I don't think Jesus was comfortable like when he got up on the cross. So like if we are told to pick up our cross daily and follow him, like we are like told to act and respond and move like according to him and not ourselves. Like if we're just comfortable, we're just almost like suppressing that.
Suppressing his message.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I was technically gonna say what you said, but you got to the point. But I was gonna say some people will think that their testimony isn't great enough to like share at all, to where they'll just be like, okay, I'm just gonna keep it to myself and not share anything that I've learned through my entire testimony that's still being written. Because I sometimes think like that, since I grew up in a Christian home. I'm like, I've heard it my entire life. I don't think my testimony is great at all. And I'm like, no, I've learned a lot. And I have talked to like a lot of family members about that too, of just like things that I've learned. And I was like, oh, huh, I didn't know I could help like teach other people, because sometimes I'll talk to like my cousins about that, and they're all younger than me, at least on my mom's side. And I'm like, oh, you guys are still learning just like I am. And I'm learning by teaching you stuff that I learned from my own testimony. And I'm like, oh, it is useful for something, even when I think it's not.
So, and yeah, that's literally the beautiful thing about it, is like it's literally so constant. Like there's the end point is when we meet Jesus face to face. Like that is it. And so like until that day, like we are in continual refinement. And I feel like that's where it kind of falls back to like literally as you're saying, you grew up in the church. Like you have known about Jesus, basically your whole life. And it can be easy to fall into that complacency of, oh, like is this actually worth going to tell people? Or it can look like that in like the different aspects of, yeah, it might be one aspect of your life where, as RJ was saying, that like you might be falling complacent, but like maybe you are reading your Bible every day, but maybe you're being complacent about telling people. And so like that's where I feel like we definitely all as Christ followers can and do fall victim to it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think another form of spiritual complacency can come through social media. Like if we see influencers that say they follow the Lord and show their Bible all marked up, like they're doing like all the studying, but like are maybe not living.
Or they're only doing it on camera,
Right.
and then never do it again.
Right. And then like as a new believer or someone, you can see like what they're doing and be like, oh, well, I can still follow the Lord and maybe not do certain things or act a certain way, and I can still be like accepted in Jesus's eyes. But that's exactly where the enemy wants you, is like in that place to like fall victim to some of those things, because you're not technically like you still have one foot in the world and one foot on Jesus. Like you're still riding the fence.
Trying to find your comfortable place to where you're able to show people like, oh, this is this certain side of me. Because as you said, like, or you, both of you, I think, said it, to where they just do it only on camera and then they don't ever do it again. So that's like, that's their comfort zone. That's as far as they'll go. And then they won't grow as they should to where they'll bear more fruit in whatever aspect that is. They'll just stay little baby, as what's the Bible verse that goes like,
they're still drinking milk.
Thank you. Like they're just on spiritual milk on a like a baby. Yeah, they're not like really digging into like the deeper stuff. And I sometimes will do that. We'll be like, I don't want to go into the deeper part of the stuff because I think that I don't think that way sometimes, or I just can't get to that point. But I'm trying to not do that anymore, to where I'll go deeper into questions like how we're doing it right now. I was scared to do this, but I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get out of my comfort zone and actually do it.
Clock it, Grace.
Yeah.
I think that's where I also like fell victim to being spiritually complacent, because after I was saved, like I went through a period of just like not reading and like not doing, like not really reading, not really learning much. I was just kind of like, oh, like I'm good, like I'm living right, like I'm not
Going through the motions.
Right, like that's just kind of how it felt, and I wasn't reading and I wasn't like studying or like learning too much more than what I like already knew, like expanding my knowledge on the Lord and on how he calls me to walk. And it was a verse I read in Hebrews the other day about like drinking milk and not solid food, and how some people will stay drinking milk and they will just stay there and stay there. And my old pastor would always say like people would go to church just to like get spiritually fed like a baby. They just want to go like fill their bellies and then leave and then come back Sunday to just get full again without like pouring out. So it's like I felt like for so long, because I wasn't reading or learning more, like I just was spiritually complacent where I was, staying in the elementary, like not really learning much more, when the Lord calls us to be pulled out of that and like learn more, like be on solid food. And I also think that just comes with like discipline and like reading his word and expanding, like breaking out of that comfortability to like having that desire to want to develop your relationship with him like deeper than just what you're comfortable with.
And people wondering why they're not growing when they're doing the same thing that they're comfortable with, and they're like, why is anything like crazy happening. Like I'm hearing from other people who are actually wanting to deepen their faith, and they're like, oh, I have to do all this, this, and this, but I don't want to do all that, and that. And I want to stay where I'm at because this is where I'm comfortable in, instead of actually
And then it's
doing
like,
it.
And then you like blame God, like when you can't hear from him, and it's like, Lord, like, why can't I hear from you? Like, what's going on? When it's like before, when you were hearing from him, you were in your word, you were taking notes, you were like talking to him every day, spending time in your quiet place. And then you hear from him, and then you like slowly start falling out of all of those habits because you just become complacent and comfortable and
or not as desperate as you used to be.
Right. You like cling to those mountaintop experiences. And it's like, why am I not hearing from you? And then you blame him for leaving when he had never left in the first place. Like it's you that drew away from him.
Earlier, RJ, you literally hit the nail on the head, but then also you guys did too, about like the thing that we're missing is mentorship, is somebody pushing you. But then you guys hit it, the second nail on the head of self-discipline. I feel like those are the two things that we're lacking, is we don't have one, somebody to set the example before us, but like not only that, because yes, we can go to church and we can see, you know, our pastor like living their life and stuff, but if they're not close enough to like actually sharpen you a little bit, like it's not going to do much. You are just going to keep going week after week just to get your belly full, to like fill you enough just for the week. Then you get drained out and you come back to get filled up again.
If you don't have iron to sharpen iron, you become dull.
Exactly.
Kind of goes with fire too, where it kind of just dies out after all the fireworks.
If nobody
burns
tends
out.
to it, it's gonna die out. Exactly.
I definitely feel like that was my experience the first time around. Like any time before this past year, I tried to like quote unquote be saved. It was always like, okay, it happened, now what? And I was so lost. I didn't know what to do. And so I just kept living the same life because I didn't know any other way. Like there wasn't anybody to like lead me or to follow up or anything like that. But I feel like too, like kind of touching back on Carson said, um, like some people just stay like drinking the milk, you know? I feel like a lot of that too though, like some people aren't ready to like move up yet, you know, like some people walk and talk and at different ages, you know, some people take a little bit longer, and I feel like that's all part of like God's timing, divine timing too. And I feel like if I were to have, you know, obviously everybody's testimony happens in a certain way in order too, but I feel like if I had, my eyes weren't open yet to his truth and like what I was supposed to do yet, because I wasn't ready. I was still needing to drink that milk a little bit longer, you know? And I feel like that happens to a lot of people too. Some people need to stay in that area and grow before their digestive system can handle the hard food, you know?
And let me know if this draws away from like your topic, but like it's all in God's timing, right? Like in that season where I wasn't reading and I felt like I wasn't hearing from the Lord, and I just was super complacent and comfortable where I was, and I didn't want to step out of that. It like that definitely needed to happen, like all in his divine timing, or else I wouldn't like see that. Like if I was in that and someone said you're being complacent, like you need to read, you need to do this, I'd be like, what are you talking about? Like it wasn't until I started seeking the Lord,
and you can look
deeply,
back on
right,
it and be like, oh, let's not do that.
Right. Like it wasn't until he revealed it to me that it was like
your eyes were open, the scales came away.
Right.
Yeah, so how do you guys think we solve that problem of, is there not enough leaders in the area for like somebody to mentor us, or is that where they need to step up and step out of their comfort zone? Maybe that's where they're getting complacent of, you know, the next generation above us, you know, needing to seek out. But then it also kind of falls back, it goes into that kind of complex problem of, okay, maybe then they fix their problem of they are reaching out to us, but do we have the self-discipline to actually listen and follow through to what they're saying, you know?
I feel like it could be both ways, because
That's what I was about to say.
yeah, there's definitely older people that can teach us, but sometimes we can also teach them. Like it's vice versa, depending on like I think it could also go with everyone's testimony, because everyone's testimony is different, and you can help somebody maybe who's older than you with whatever they're struggling with that you struggled with, and you could tell them like, hey, I also went through the same thing. I know I may be younger than you, but I have some wisdom that I would like to share with you, and then possibly wisdom could be shared back, and they could mentor you on something else or whatever. If that makes any sense.
No, it definitely does. But that's definitely real. But I also think about myself when I was younger, and I would not listen to anyone. Like, I wanted to learn by doing. And if someone told me not to do it, I was going to do it to learn why. Which is not like, I mean, but like, and then I think about like a friend reaching out to me saying, like, I want to get to know the Lord, but I don't know where to start. And so, like, I say, why don't you come to church with me on Sunday? And it's just like no response back. So it's like, I feel like that desire also has to come from within. But then I also get on like the fence about, does someone need to go through like a traumatic experience to be like, okay, like I give it all to you? Because like, yes, the Lord meets you in your lowest places, and that's where he is like perfectly positioned to do his best work in you. But like, does that always need to happen with someone to like grow that like desire to like meet him?
Yeah, kind of one of the things that I had been researching was the region beta paradox, and that's basically what you had just described. Is like it takes basically it could like take something like traumatic or like something big to like get people out of like the rift that they're in, and so like we can be stuck being complacent and going through the same motions, and we just kind of had the mindset of like this is okay because this is one like all we know, and it takes a change in our life to get us out of it. And so I feel like through that, one, I don't think that necessarily it has to be like traumatic. Like I think it just means that we're human and we can get stuck just going through the motions, but we do need some sort of change. And that can be a good type of change, because that also I feel like goes to show through many people's testimony that some who like if it was a big change, like I know for you that was a big change of going from like doing drugs and doing all this stuff to like 180. And then there could be somebody else who like Grace who grew up in the church, and it's like that's more of like a steady flow versus something like a big shift. But at the same time, she still had that big shift of when God came, took her out of that place of her sinful nature and saved her. And so it just looks so different. It doesn't have to be something that is very dramatic or traumatic, but it could be in even situations like this, like Grace saying, "Oh, I was scared to like just even have this little podcast or interview," and it's like that in itself it's growing her. I know it's growing me right now too. I don't like talking for a long time, but I feel like you guys have been doing a lot of talking, and but it is like just changing up your scenery of like recognizing, having the self-discipline to one, recognize what are your weaknesses, what are the areas in my life where I am complacent, and being able to have the self-control and like self-motivation. You don't always need it from other people, but to like actually put yourself into situations where you are going to get refined and you are going to get sharpened, and it's stretching, and it can hurt sometimes, but like you have to know that like the end goal is so worth it, because like you get to be closer to Christ and you get to know more about him.
It shows you that you can be stretched. You think you can't.
Right. And like that also like takes you putting down your will and setting aside your pride to be like, okay, Lord, like what are you trying to show me? Like wanting to talk to him. Like Arthur, you were just telling me.
I was literally gonna bring that up.
an
I was because I have one
experience.
other thing I wanted to share before we get too far. But your earlier question, I was going to touch on the earlier question. I think too, one thing we need to like almost do is, I feel like when I think of leadership, I think of teachers, government, higher up people. I think we almost need to
Mm,
redefine what leadership is, because like you've said,
yes.
leadership isn't being like a full on blown school teacher, somebody up high, like a
Yeah.
hierarchy thing. Like, it's literally leading one another. Leadership is, you can lead your friend group, you can lead your family, you can, there's so many different ways to lead. So I think that's
Mhm.
one thing, because for me that was a really hard mindset, because like I even like hear like mom says like, I see leadership skills in you. I was like, I don't want to be a teacher. Like that's my first my mindset
Yeah.
is like teaching a whole school, like, or what, like a classroom setting. So it's like that's not always, yeah, that. And then yeah, so I was going to touch on that too, was about a big thing, or one thing I've noticed recently was about when people do get stuck. I was realizing, because I was like, why do people get stuck? I was asking myself, because I used to do that a lot too. And I started to realize the reason people get stuck is because they want control over the situation and they can't let it go and give it to God. So what happens is they start going, "Oh, why didn't it happen this way? Why did this happen? Why I wish it happened this way." And they start getting in that loop of like, my way, my way, my I wanted it my way and it didn't happen, and they can't move past that. Why do people hold on to, grudges and things like that? It's because it didn't happen the way they wanted it to, and that's such a self, or that's such a control uh thing of people to do. And so yeah, we were just talking about that, about they aren't giving it up and giving it to God, because
Right.
I've realized a big change in me is a lot of situations where I would look back and be like, oh, replaying in my head, oh, I should have said this, oh, I should have done that, type of thing. And I was like, you know what? But it didn't happen that way. It was the way it happened was, the way it happened. It just, that's how, it happened. So it's almost of a letting it go, and they can't. So what happens is they end up getting stuck. So I feel like that's a big thing too, with,
Mhm.
now that you're saying, people who are complicit, or
Yeah.
getting stuck, and they're getting comfortable. And so I think the reason maybe they are comfortable and getting stuck is because they like that control, and
Yeah.
they like that feeling of, oh, I know what's going to happen next. So because like you're saying, if something big does happen and come and change, that's going to rock their world if they're so comfortable and they're so in control of everything around them, what's happening. Oh, I have a routine, I'm not going to do this, I'm going to do this. But if God were to, or does come in, decides, nope, this isn't your way, this is my way,
Mhm.
and it's gonna happen this way, then yeah, that's gonna rock their world and
Yeah.
change things up and give a different mindset and a different point of view, because that's not happening their way.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, it
Definitely.
makes me think of like when you said you're stuck and you need that control and you can't break out of that and that's why you're stuck. It almost makes me think of like forgiveness.
mm,
Like if you can't forgive someone, you are still holding on to those emotions and
yeah,
you are like stuck and just comfortable in that because breaking out of that and forgiving someone like that traumatically hurt you,
mm,
like makes you uncomfortable, but like brings you closer to the Lord because like that's what He calls us to do. And I think that is another form of spiritual complacency,
yeah,
like
unforgiveness
unforgiveness.
Mhm.
and control.
Right.
Um, Something that Audrey had said about leadership looks so different, and I feel like there is such a stigmatism of leadership is big and scary and something that you have to like work up to. And in a sense, you do have to work up to it because you build your influence, you build what type of leader you are. But a servant leader that like Christ represented as like that is that's what each of us are called to do because we are called to reflect and be image bearers of God. And so he created us to be leaders, and that does look different for everybody, and it's being a leader in whatever situation that like you have been given. And so it's using whatever resources you have, just like the it's the parable of you know the three different guys, they get you know the different amounts of money, but it's what you do with it.
Yeah.
It's like, how are you using your resources? How are you leading the people that are you around? How are you influencing how are you influencing your family? How are you influencing your friends, your coworkers, your schoolmates, even the people you walk by? when you're on a walk in the middle of town, like how do you reflect Christ throughout your life?
Jesus was the teacher so that we could be a teacher.
Mm.
Yeah. Very nice. I like that. Sorry, I didn't want to talk because I thought it would talk over what she was saying. So she had the mic right there. But yeah, I was like, I don't want to talk. But yeah, kind of going off what you just said, like, and also allowing us to still be teachable, like Mr. Louis says all the time, allowing yourself to also be influenced by others, but in a Christ-centered way, being influenced by others, and allowing yourself to be also stretched by them and continuing to learn and just being able to be molded as well, and you being more teachable so that you can kind of take what you've learned from them or someone else and teach it to somebody else and have it just keep going and going and going.
It's just like what we talked about, like how like you can influence others, but you can also learn through that process of like stretching yourself and breaking out of that comfortability to do something like that might not make you comfortable, but through that and through encouraging other people, like it is also bringing you closer to the Lord, and you're learning like through that experience.
Yeah. So would you all agree that not only creative expression, but that kind of goes hand in hand with group gatherings, as in Hebrews 10:24-25, we are called, let's consider how we may spur one another on towards love and good deeds, not neglecting meeting one another, but encouraging one another all the more as we see the day approaching. Yes. So, I love that. So you all would agree that like those kind of do go hand in hand, though, of how we were made in God's image to bear His image, which means creatively expressing, and that's through so many different avenues. But in order to encourage one another, we've got to meet with one another.
You gotta be around
Right.
other swords to sharpen other
Right.
swords.
And like right, even like I'm sure we've all had the experience at Journey where it's like you're asking it like, or I'll speak personally, like had the experience where it's like you're asking your friends like, oh, are you gonna go to Journey tonight, and they all bail on you, and then I'm like, but I want to go. So it's like I get out of that comfort zone knowing, okay, there's something here, like there's something at Journey, like the Spirit of the Lord is there. So it's like you break out of that comfortability, like, well, I could stay in my bed, I'm like, well, I could do this and just stay comfortable, but like, no, I'm gonna break out of that and go. And that's where you develop a relationship with Christ, develop a relationship with other people. You see Christ through them. And then it's like you see people there that have so much joy, and it's like, why? Like, why do you have so much joy? Like, what? And it's like, oh, because like Christ abides in you. And it is like very evident at people and through people in Journey.
So how would you guys say, I guess as a way to like get people out of spiritual complacency, is it basically what we're doing right now, just like having those conversations with people? Because I feel like sometimes you can even be stagnant and you don't even recognize that you're complacent in your faith. Like it really does take stepping out of your comfort zone to get out of your comfort zone. But like how do you reach those people? Like how do you get people to step out? And I feel like that comes with relationships, being personable and like actually getting to know people. Like that's where there's a disconnect of, as I was kind of saying earlier, of you can go to church, you can see your pastor, and you could think that you have like, oh, I just because I know my pastor, I have like a relationship with him. But it's like, no, he's actually not really sharpening you in any way because he doesn't know you personally. Like you can get information from him and be filled up a little bit, but like to get like deeper, like you really need that personal aspect to the, like you need other people to also know your weaknesses and to push you to go beyond your weaknesses, sharpen you in those ways.
I just say consistency too. I feel like is key to that, because I feel like a lot of people too give up after so long because they get hurt from the rejection. I know that's a big thing for me, but also then having other people who can encourage you to keep pressing on and asking those people to come and um yeah, to like encourage you to just like keep pressing into those people who, need that group or, fellowship or whatever it is. Like that's one thing I feel like that breaks it because a lot of people say, well, oh, you don't care about me after like you gave up on me or you didn't stay or whatever it is, like but if you continue doing what you're doing, then I feel like that can definitely break through because eventually like even like what's it say, I forget what where it is in the Bible where he talks about if you keep knocking on the door, God eventually is going to answer your prayer. It's not going to
Yeah,
be
he
right
says,
away.
"Seek me and you will find me."
Yeah, so it's like even God after a while he's gonna break, and he's our loving father. So like imagine like if he's, almighty and powerful, a person's gonna break a lot sooner. So you just gotta be persistent, yeah, consistent.
That kind of reminds me of like I think I've told Anna this, but I don't know if I've told y'all. Well, but whatever. So when I was trying to find community after leaving college, because almost everybody I knew from high school was literally gone, and I came back and I knew I needed to find community, and so I went to the young adults group that was at my work, and no one said hi to me. Not a single person did anything. So I literally left before the service even started. And I went into my car, completely started bawling my eyes out, called my mom saying, I need community and I know I need it. I just can't find it. And then all y'all know Laura. And she invited me to Journey. And I just felt like this is where I needed to be. But then the devil tried to take that from me by making me just feel like, oh, I don't need to go here. I don't need to grow. I don't need anybody or any community. But then when I finally figured out that's what was happening, I was like, okay, I need to go and continue going. And now I've been here for what, 3 years now?
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
And now I have all of you peoples and everyone else.
Yeah, I think to help break people out of spiritual complacency, consistency is huge, and feeling loved by other people is huge. So, like what Jesus did, where he like went out and sought the people like that were hurting, that weren't like following him, but like showed them love and showed them compassion, because like that's who he is. Like he showed them, like sought them out, went to where they were, showed them love, showed them compassion, and like that's where they were like felt loved, felt welcomed back, and all of that. And it makes me think about the first time you and I ever like got lunch or like hung out or did anything.
It was scary.
I know. I would have never guessed. Like we just did something that, I don't know, it was like, you want to go walk around downtown Waxhaw, and it was like, yeah. And so we went and got lunch and just like walked around and went in these little shops, but like through like just how happy you were and like how friendly you were, it was like being at Journey, seeing this place where it's like, oh, I have friends that like are welcoming and loving. Like it makes me want to go back. Whereas I think also spiritual complacency can come when we don't have a church, or maybe aren't going somewhere where we feel welcomed or feel where the spirit of the Lord is. Like that we can't, like how we need leaders, like that we aren't feeling very led to like get to know him more, because I think it also comes from that drive, like that other people can also help us with too.
I think too, like yeah, touching on that too is like being seen. I think that was a big thing, like even for Grace, like she said, like it's just literally like somebody acknowledging you can make a difference. Because that was a big thing for like what kept me at Journey in the beginning, and I was like, I don't know why I'm going here. I'm just gonna keep going. But it was literally because like no, but it was literally because people would come up to me every single week when I would walk in, give me a high five, give me a fist bump, and just be like, hi RJ, and just just literally that was enough to like literally keep me there because I didn't have that anywhere else. So like just literally being seen in somebody, just being like hi and like welcome, like yeah, the welcoming too, being feeling welcomed is definitely like a big key. I was gonna say another thing that would like help, I feel like, is like true leadership, like finding like real people, because like I said earlier, like you can find leadership and it be false prophets and you don't even know and realize, and then you're bringing other people to these false prophets, and like like it's not good. So like actually finding true like genuine leadership that's like doing it for Christ and not themselves, I feel like is really big too. So having the discernment then to like not lead other people astray, also, so that they can be getting filled up in the correct way and not being led astray is, I feel like, big too. Yeah.
I would say, going back to your first point of
Being welcome.
being welcomed, yes. I like wanted to then ask questions about your second part, but I was like, wait, no, let me pull it back first. Um, about being welcomed, I feel like, because not that like we don't need to hold the pressure of, you know, trying to be ultimately like perfect and exactly like Jesus, because we are always going to fall short. So I feel like, one, we need to recognize that, but being welcoming to people and stuff like that, once we are able to like see that as humans and other humans, like that is us seeing Christ. And so like that is him revealing himself through people. And so I feel like once we are able to get a taste of that, and once we do know that, then we are able to like share forgiveness with people, and we don't hold the grudges whenever people now don't acknowledge us, because we understand, like, if they aren't doing that, like, we recognize that we need to be praying that they do see Jesus in that light and that they do reflect him in that way. And I don't know why that just like kind of hit me while you were talking about it, because it was like that's what kept you there. And even though it was human interaction, because like that's what also drives so many people away from the church, is the lack of human interaction. But it's like ultimately we're seeking for something, and we're not going to find our like full fulfillment in humans, but like that's where we get and like catch a glimpse of Jesus first. Because I've heard people say this a lot of like, you may be the only Bible that people read. And so like that, like maybe if at that time you were or weren't reading the Bible, or like you didn't actually know the Father's love for you personally, you got to experience it because somebody else experienced it. And that is just so beautiful.
Yeah.
I've never looked at it that way.
So I guess I kind of want to end on this last question. How does a night like tonight help you feel connected to God and keep you from being spiritually complacent?
I mean, I think it can be really easy to be like, no, it's late. Like, I'm cold. I had a busy day. Like, no, I don't want to, like, go sit outside, or like there could have been literally any excuse or any reason, or I had a long day, or da. But like, I know I've told you this before, like talking to other people like about the Lord just like fills your spirit, and like you can absolutely like get to know him more. Like through this, we are all being refined and being able to talk about it with each other, because then someone else is going to ask us something about tonight or one of the questions that you've asked us, and we're going to be like, oh yeah, I've talked about that before, like so we'll know. And obviously we want to go like where the spirit of the Lord is. And I feel like, what is the verse, when two or more are gathered?
There he is in their presence.
Yep.
Yeah.
The spirit of the Lord is.
And just sitting out here and listening to worship music, like playing the piano and just singing, like through, like, what was it, our gift, through creative expression, like everything we did tonight.
Yeah.
And just like fellowshipping, like that's what he calls us to do. And it's like the fellowship that I did with like other people before this. Like the Lord was not present at all and it was not fulfilling. But like this like fills your spirit, you know.
I kind of said at the beginning I was scared to do this because I do not like public speaking. Even if it's around friends, I do not like public speaking because it's just daunting to me, and I've tried to get out of that as I have been with what is it called, my young adults group, Sunday school at my church, where I sometimes have to teach the lesson even though I really don't want to. But yeah, this has definitely shown me that I can be stretched in that way, even though I think I'm like, oh, I can't do that, I don't want to. But just actually going against my flesh tonight, being like, oh, I want to go home, I want to go sleep, I want to shower. I just came straight here from work and I don't want to technically do this, but I'm actually not that I didn't want to technically, but I was just, as Carson said, you're tired and you've had a long day, so I was like, I just want to go home and recharge and all that. But I've definitely been recharged since being here.
Right?
And all that.
It's like our cups, it's like when you go through a long day, your cups are empty.
Yes.
And you think like, oh, when I go home and I lay down and I scroll on TikTok or like whatever, lay in bed and get all comfy, like that's gonna recharge me. But it doesn't.
No.
Like our cups like feel like are overflowing.
Mm-hmm.
Like in just talking with each other and hanging out, like this is what recharges us.
The Lord
The Lord recharges us.
But yeah,
Takes us out of the grave, out of spiritual complacency. He picks us up,
Praise
right? Turns us around.
Hallelujah.
And I think we end on that note. Praise the Lord. Thank you, Jesus.
yay.
Let's go, team.
RJ didn't even say anything, but okay.
Hi.
Did you want?
I was just gonna say, like, I feel like tonight was just like, I don't know, I was so excited for tonight and just to I love like just doing art and like I don't know, I didn't work all day or anything. Like I've had a really chill day, but yet still like even after like the day I had, I still feel like recharged, like you're saying, like just like doing this tonight, and I just feel like so at peace. I was literally thinking, I was like, this is what life is about, literally just doing this, and I'm just like so content and just so like filled with joy to just be like doing this right now and like have the opportunity. So
I feel that.
yeah, so I don't know, I feel like yeah.
Everybody get in this frame.
Which one, the phone or that phone?
This phone.
Don't be spiritually complacent and find what is fulfilling in Christ in life.
Yeah.
Don't stop trying to find people who are going to sharpen you. Find Christ-centered community who are going to get to know you, who are going to know your weaknesses, and who are going to push you and stretch you and grow you to be more like Christ.
Yep. Don't stop seeking community when you feel lost. Don't stop seeking Jesus, because there are also other people who want to find Jesus and they will find him through you. So if you keep being a reflection of Jesus, that can pull someone else out of their spiritual complacency. And if you are showing, like depicting Jesus through yourself, through community, then someone in spiritual complacency can see that. They can pull you out of, you can pull them out of it.
So, everything they said. God is good.
All the time.
And all the time.
God is good.
Bye bye.
Oh, man.
Oh my gosh, I can't sing. I can't. I need to stop being so loud.